Welcome to the Bama Bo Show. I am your host, Bama Bo. And it's really good to be back. It is football season, guys. So let's recap in Bama Bo's News Hour what we saw over the weekend. So let's take a look at how Bama performed this weekend and a little sneak peek at the rest of the SEC. So let's start with the Crimson Tide. First of all, they did get off to a little bit of a rough start and breaking in some new middle linebackers. They had 4 starters out in the first quarter due to a suspension. So a little bit of a slow start for the Crimson Tide, but if you go back and watch the first quarter, they had a really long drive that they sustained for like 6 to 7 minutes or something like that, eating up the clock. Just so happens it turned out with a missed field goal. So it wasn't like Alabama wasn't necessarily dominating. It just wasn't quite showing up on the scoreboard. But then Alabama gets off to the fast start in the second quarter where they're just scoring and Tua's being Tua. He's hitting all these guys in stride. Tua's going through his progressions. He's making his reads. He's not making stupid mistakes. He's running out of bounds when he needs to. Tua is being the Tua that we all remembered prior to his injuries. And yes, I say injuries. He had several of them last year, let's not forget. And even though he had those injuries, he was still sitting in New York. But Saturday, on display for the world to see against Duke, he reminded us of why he was in New York and why there's a really good chance he will be back there again this year. It's not just about the numbers. It's not just the fact that he was 26 of 31 for 336 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That's not all it's about. It's about how you get those 336 yards. These weren't little dinks and dunks and first read situations. Tua is completely going through his progressions. He's throwing lasers in tight windows. Tua can do it all. This is why he separates himself from the rest of college football, because of the tight windows, because of the spiral, because of the way the ball leaves his hand, because of how quick he makes a decision, because he is able to read the defense, because he can dissect and quickly react. That is Tua. Not to mention, let's not take any credit away from these wide receivers. When you've got a Judy and a Henry Ruggs and a Jalen Waddle and a Devontae Smith, there's not a lot a defense can do about that. Then you top it off with a touchdown to Miller Forrestall and a touchdown to Major Tennyson. Incorporating these tight ends. Come on, guys. That is sick. That is so good. That is like insanely good. I mean, really? I mean, this is just unfair for college football to have that kind of elite talent at quarterback and wide receiver. I'm not sure how you're going to stop these guys this season. But hey, to the future opponents, best of luck. Best of luck. That's all I can say. So, back to the game itself. I thought the linebackers really stepped up. And look, Duke threw everything they had at Alabama. They tried their best to confuse this young defense. But for the most part, they really stood tall. Shane Lee was all over the football. Shane Lee was here. Shane Lee was there. Shane Lee was making tackles. Not enough can be said for the speed of this kid. And look, he looks like a grown man. This guy is insanely good and instinctive to be a freshman. I really thought he was an upperclassman out there Saturday. And he will only learn and get better. Yeah, he made a few little mistakes. Big deal. He will continue to improve, as will Christian Harris. He will continue to improve. So I'm feeling a lot better about the middle linebacker position as of right now. And then we get Terrell Lewis back. And we've never even seen Terrell Lewis play a full game. This was no exception either because he was suspended in the first quarter. But when Terrell Lewis came out, look what happens. This guy's just a difference maker. This guy is insanely good. One of the best pass rushers, and we need that. We were absent that last year, so really, really good to see him come out and remind us of why he is Terrell Lewis. Now, the rest of the defense, I thought the secondary played phenomenal. McKinney made that play on that unbelievable 4th and 3, I think it was, where Duke decides to go for it. He stood tall. He didn't give the guy an inch, an absolute inch. No, he was not letting him have the first down. That's McKinney. What I saw from every one of these guys was that every tackle they fought and they fought and they fought. They never gave up on plays. And that's all you can ask for. As long as they're not giving up on plays, they're going to continue to grow and continue to get better. So, couldn't be happier all in all with the performance of the Alabama Crimson Tide Saturday. And I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, it was Duke. Well, yes, it was Duke. But Duke was still a far more quality opponent than some of the SEC had on Saturday. Which brings us to Tennessee. I don't even know what to say about Tennessee. If you look at their schedule, this should have been one of the easiest wins they had. They were favored by 30-something, and they lose this ball game. All I can tell you is I don't know what the future is for Jeremy Pruitt, and I don't know what the future is for the Tennessee Vols, but right now, it's just not looking too good. Right now, it's a little bit of a dumpster fire. So I don't know if they can get this turned around or not. Not a good way to start the season. So even though Tennessee had a very poor performance on Saturday, I'm going to give the best worst quarterback rating to none other than Jake Bentley. That's just not good enough in the SEC. And if you'll remember, we heard in the offseason that the South Carolina-Alabama game was going to be really big this year. I guess the media is now changing their opinion on that. Just not a great showing for the SEC, especially the SEC East. Georgia's gonna run away with the East this year. From everything we've seen, this will be laughable, absolutely laughable in the East. Now, with all the hype on Alabama and Tua Tagovailoa in what I consider the clear lead for the Heisman hunt, the Oklahoma fans are trying to make some sort of stir about their quarterback. Understandably so. He had a great night. However, let's talk about the comparison of the quarterbacks. So to do that, I'm bringing in two special guests that I've had on before. I'm bringing in hardcore Alabama fan and modern day Alabama fan. And I want to get their opinions on what they think about us rooting for Oklahoma. Hardcore fan, how are you doing? Let's start with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be back. I'll say the same thing that I said last time to Frank when we were talking about this. You don't root for another team. I don't care if it's Auburn. You don't root for anybody other than the Crimson Tide, I'm telling you. You just don't. I came from a time where we hated Oklahoma. Hated them.
Modern day fan, what do you have to say to rebut that?
So, I think we can totally support both teams and both quarterbacks. Oh my God, he's so hot. And I think we could totally support them. And come on, oh my God, we can root for Oklahoma. It's okay, Bama Nation. I have no idea what that millennial just said right now. I'm just going to tell you right now. That made no sense whatsoever, Bama Bo. That made no sense. We don't root for Oklahoma. You hear me? We don't root for Oklahoma. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Modern day fan, I'll give you the last word.
No, I want the final say. And the final say is, my quarterback is in Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide.
Okay, there you have it. Looks like Hardcore Fan wanted to have the last word. Nonetheless, interesting debate between the two. Just my personal opinion on the topic is, I'm going to lean toward Hardcore Fan. Even though neither one of them really brought anything to the table. But I do, however, agree with the fact that if you're an older fan like myself who absolutely hates Oklahoma, nothing changes with that now. I'm still the same person that hates Oklahoma. I don't care who is there. My team is in Tuscaloosa. My quarterback is in Tuscaloosa. Couldn't be more proud of Tua Tagovailoa. Personally, I'm going to focus on that this year. Whatever Oklahoma does is whatever Oklahoma does. And hey, best of luck to them. But my team is the Alabama Crimson Tide. The media wants this to be a story. Don't forget that. There's not really a story to click onto when it says Tua versus Trevor, right? But everyone's going to click when it says Tua versus Jalen. So just keep that in mind when you're making your decisions about what you watch and what you didn't watch. Because Tua's still the quarterback that's going to go through the progressions and make the hard throws and throw into the tight windows and all of those things. A wide receiver screen that turns into a 30-yard catch. Wide receiver screen. 30 yards down the field. You're not going to see a whole lot of that because SEC defenses will adjust to that and take that away from you. However, in that conference, it just doesn't seem to happen. And again, you're not going to see a whole lot of quick reads where it's a 5-yard throw that goes for 40 yards and a touchdown. That's not going to happen as much as in the SEC. There's more pressure on Tua to go through progressions, throw into tight windows, make things happen. So it's not going to be as easy. So when you look at these numbers, take that into consideration, how easy it is for some to get those numbers and how it is much harder for others to get those numbers. And not to take anything away from Oklahoma, but let's be real, there was a touchdown pass where when it shows it on TV, that receiver's the only one in the screen. There's not a defender to be found. They just play too soft. They're just too easy of throws. And keep that in mind, the same things that we all fussed about last year with Kyler Murray and how he got his numbers rolls over the exact same way. So just remember that before you rush to judgment. Again, couldn't be more proud of the Crimson Tide. Love my quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. I'm going to focus on that as an Alabama fan. So this was just in fun. Hope you enjoyed. And until next time, guys, roll Tide and peace out.